Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back here to the launch pad and another live launch coverage today for SpaceX Starlink Group 4-13. As always, if it's your first time here, let us know in the chat. If not, let us know where you're tuning in from around the world. Welcome. My name is Zach. I'm the host here at TLP, and here at the Launchpad, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we do believe that space is better together, and you're joining us for a live launch coverage of another batch of Starlink, yet another Starlink. Had a little bit of a break in between the last ones, but we've got 3 coming up quite quickly here in the next week, so we hope you'll join us for all of those. Today, one of the more rare ones, though, launching out of Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, so if you are in the Los Angeles region, you've got about 20 minutes to head outside, and if you're near the coast, look up towards the coast, and you may be able to see a Falcon 9 Block 5 launch from Slick 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base, carrying 53 new Starlink satellites into low Earth orbit with a targeted orbit of 540 kilometers, but Falcon 9 will be dropping them at 297 by 239 kilometers today, and then they'll work their way to their final orbit over the coming weeks. A little bit unsure about what booster is actually launching today. There are 3 different boosters that have been rumored. One, a new booster. One is booster 1063-5, and there's another one there as well. So we're going to wait till SpaceX gets their live stream going, and we'll find out actually what booster is launching today. If it's a new one, that'll be exciting to see another one join the fleet. If you don't know what Starlink is, head over to starlink.com. You can learn more about that. We're not endorsed by them or anything, but you can dive more. But it is a satellite internet communication system available pretty much globally now. There are wait lists in many regions. You're looking about $110 to $120 a month, but really great option if you're in rural communities and don't have access to high-speed internet. Treasury Dives, thank you so much for that super chat. Hope the launch goes good. Thanks for the awesome coverage. Treasury Dives, thank you so much for being here. Hope you're doing well. It's great to see you in the chat. If you guys want to go a little bit deeper into today's coverage, you can join us over on our Discord. It is totally free to do so. You can join that link in the chat there. We're hanging out in live comms, and I'll be jumping in there once we get launch underway as well. We'll be hanging out there post-show. And if you haven't yet, follow us over on Twitter at TLPN_official. That's where we will be live tweeting updates about space industry as they happen, and you can find out about our newest launches. And if you like what we do, I know we hate to say it, but if you like what we're doing, you can help support what we do by becoming a TLP member, get access to behind the scenes, early video coverage, whole bunch of projects underway, including a really large platform that we're excited to share with all of you very soon. But if you're in behind the scenes, you know what we're working on and have been helping input into what you would like it to look like, and we got a lot more coming in that sector. So hit the join button, $1.99, helps us bring you guys the best possible launch coverage of everything space and science. We've got a poll up today. We want to know from you, what describes you best? Are you a fan of space, fan of science, a fan of the rockets themselves, or are you a stream hobo and you just stream hop because you love the communities and the chats? So we want to hear from you in the poll there. We'll be coming back to that in a little bit. But if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad and our live launch coverage of Starlink 4-13, launching out of Vandenberg Space Force Base. This will be the 19th launch for SpaceX in 2022. And they are going to be going for their 23rd launch out of Vandenberg, and we are already at the 52nd orbital launch of 2022 as well. They're continuing to extend that new record. Today, if they have a successful landing, it'll be their 45th consecutive successful landing, a new record for them. And they are very quickly approaching that 100th reflight of boosters. So some new records and milestones coming up for them in the near future. As always, if you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat. Just tag us at the Launchpad, and we will answer those live as we go through today's. As always, with these launches, they've been cutting the streams shorter, so we will be covering through the launch portion. If you want to track with us through deployment, join us over the Discord. I will pull up the live tracker in there, and we will track along through deployment. But for on-stream, we're going to be covering it through that launch and landing. See where everyone's tuning in from here. We got San Diego, we got Hong Kong, Reno, Someone's got rain. Oh no. We got Finland. Brandon, can San Diego see? It is a possibility. It will be launching to the south and hugging the coast. It might be high up, but there might be a possibility if it's a clear enough day for you to at least see maybe a streak through the sky. So I definitely say take a look and let us know how it goes. On screen right now is a look at the live telemetry board from SpaceX. It's just got a little Falcon 9 in the middle of your screen. We're waiting for them to actually get underway for their feed. We do have their mission control audio patched in, so if we do hear them say anything on how fueling's going, you guys will hear so as well. We are seeing their main feed going live here, so we're going to patch that in right away here as well, and okay, take some live looks at the rocket as we get ready for launch here. Launch targeting 15:07 Pacific or 22:07 UTC, so we are coming down to about 16 minutes or so, well, not even 12 minutes or so until launch. Today's rocket, as we said, we're waiting to see which booster they're using. There's rumors of 3 different ones. We don't get as good of a visual when we're launching from Vandenberg to confirm some of these things, so we're going to wait to confirm that. It may be, though, that we see the rare new Falcon 9 booster introduced into the fleet here today. As always, if you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat. Tag us at the Launchpad. It really does help us out, and we will be answering those questions live. And don't forget to engage that like button and share out the broadcast as we count down T-minus about 10 minutes to launch. Hey, Gordon. Yeah, there was some spam in the chat, so we're gonna be just not addressing all that. All spam. We're not being investigated for anything. The wind is bad for launch. Yeah, we were hearing this morning it was about 40% chance go for launch through today. It's fake. It is fake there. Wonder if the CGI will be better in today's video. We'll have to wait to see. You never know. It might get stuck in the dome. You never know what will happen. If you're just joining us, though, great to see you. Welcome here to our live launch coverage. We're getting SpaceX ready to join on here, and we are going to be answering those questions live as we get ready for launch.
On screen is a live view of Falcon 9 awaiting its liftoff from Vandenberg Space Force Base's Space Launch Complex 4 East about 9 minutes from now. This afternoon's launch is our 4th launch from Vandenberg this year. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andy Tran, and I'm a quality engineer here at SpaceX. I'm joining you today from Hawthorne, California, which is about 170 miles from our West Coast launch pad that you see on screen. On today's flight, we'll be taking another 53 Starlink satellites into low Earth orbit in order to expand our coverage around the globe. A bit later in the webcast, we'll share a couple of updates on our growing coverage in Canada and across Europe. But before we get to that, we wanted to recognize a handful of celebrations during the month of May. Not only is it the month for sending Star Wars themed memes and celebrating the amazing women and moms in our life, it's also a time when we recognize and celebrate all the incredible contributions made by generations of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. These contributions have had a great impact to our history, society, and culture. Here at SpaceX, our Asian American Pacific Islander Employee Network is hosting a variety of events where we'll celebrate traditional cuisine, movies, and other fun activities. So be sure to take some time this month to send love to your Asian American and Pacific Islander friends and neighbors. For now, let's take a closer look at our Falcon 9 on the pad. If you're not familiar, Falcon 9, also known as F9, is a two-stage rocket and the first orbital class rocket capable of reflight that is designed and manufactured by SpaceX. F9 stands 70 meters tall, which is almost as tall as the Taj Mahal in India, and is named after the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. The Falcon 9 that you see on screen rolled out to the pad Wednesday morning and then went vertical a few hours after that. This particular first stage has supported 4 missions: NASA's Double Asteroid Redirection Test, or DART, the Sentinel-6 microfluidic mission, and 2 past Starlink missions. And if you've been following SpaceX, you know that reusability is one of our top priorities, as it's the key to reducing the cost of space access for all of us. And being able to reuse multiple components of our rockets plays a big part in making that a reality. In addition to the Star Wars aspect to the name, the number 9 in Falcon 9 references the 9 M1D engines on the first stage, but there's actually 10 engines on the rocket. The second stage has a slightly modified engine on it called the Merlin Vacuum, or MVAC engine. This engine has a larger nozzle which allows the second stage to perform better in the vacuum of space. And much like an assembly line, each part of the rocket plays a very important role to the launch. While the first stage powers us up and out of the Earth's atmosphere to space, the second stage takes the satellites to their targeted drop-off orbit. We just heard the callouts that
Stage 1 RP1 load is complete.
Engine chill has begun, and second stage thrust vector control actuators should start within the next few minutes. These are also known as the engine wiggle test. We move the thrust chamber slightly to make sure that the guidance hardware is a go for flight. The first stage would do the same wiggle test just seconds before ignition. The large barrel structure with the pointed nose that is on top of the second stage is the payload fairing. It's composed of 2 halves made up of carbon composite material that come together to protect our satellites until we're in the vacuum of space. Around 3 minutes into flight, once we've exited Earth's atmosphere, we will jettison the fairing halves and attempt to retrieve them once they return to Earth. We want to jettison the fairings as soon as we can, as the weight of the fairing actually decreases second stage performance. And for reference, the payload fairing is about 40 feet tall with a 17-foot diameter. To put that size into perspective, you could fit an average fire truck inside both of the fairing halves. And as those fairing halves return to Earth, so will our first stage, which is set to land on our drone ship that you see on screen. This one is named Of Course I Still Love You, and it's currently positioned near Baja, Mexico today. If successful, it will mark the 112th recovery of a Falcon 9 first stage. So the call we just heard is we're beginning to pressurize for retracting of the strong back, which is part of the transporter erector, or TE. The transporter erector's job is to roll out the rocket to the pad and raise it to that vertical launch position that you see on screen right now. Now, in order to retract the strong back, we're going to be opening up the clamp arms right underneath the fairing halves. Once those arms are open, then we begin to recline that strong back away from the vehicle to its pre-launch position. And as we get closer to T0, it will continue to recline away, providing clearance for Falcon 9 to lift off. So if you look closely behind the white clouds there, you can see that those clamp arms have indeed opened up, and we should start to see that strong back begin to recline away from the vehicle. And there it goes. So as that's happening, if you've been following Starlink development, then you know that Starlink is a constellation of multiple satellites in low Earth orbit and has the potential to service the entire globe. Because Starlink does not rely on traditional ground infrastructure, it's great for places where connectivity has typically been a challenge or non-existent. Earlier this week, the government of Quebec, Canada announced it will fund the deployment of Starlink in up to 10,000 homes throughout the province. The grant is part of a program that aims to extend high-speed internet access throughout the region, and Starlink will serve the homes in hard-to-reach areas. The service will be deployed to participating homes by the end of this September. Starlink has also gone live in Greece and Hungary. These additions bring us to servicing a total of 36 markets around the globe. If you're wondering when service will be available in your area, yesterday the Starlink team released an updated Starlink availability map. You can enter an address or just zoom into certain areas on the map to identify locations that have active service. The areas in light blue are locations where you can order immediately, and where there is a wait list, it'll tell you the current expected time frame for service availability. If you'd like to check it out for yourself, you can find it on the Starlink website at starlink.com/map. So we are about T-minus 2.5 minutes. Falcon 9 is now moving into the final stages of the countdown. We've got some clear skies out in Vandenberg. We are watching for ground wind speeds as we get closer and closer.
And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad and our live launch coverage of Starlink 4-13 launching from Vandenberg Space Force Station. Today we're coming down to T-minus 2 minutes and counting, and as always, let's see a go no go in the chat as we get ready for today's launch here. They are watching ground weather, so we're going to listen into mission control as we get down to the final count of T-minus 1 minute 45 seconds and counting. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button, share out the broadcast, and here we go.
That we vent overboard to maintain pressure in the tanks as needed. And when that gas comes out and contacts the Californian air,
load is complete.
The humid, moist air condenses that and turns it into the clouds that you see. And that call out that we just heard is the last of propellant loading for the vehicle. So we are fully fueled and just over a minute away from liftoff of 53 more Starlink satellites.
LD is go for launch.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
With startup, that means that both stages are beginning to pressurize for launch.
LD is go for launch.
And that was the launch director providing the final go for launch. All systems are go. Let's watch as Falcon 9 takes our 53 Starlink satellites into orbit.
T-minus 30 seconds.
T-minus 20 seconds.
T-minus 15
15.
seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. And liftoff. Go Falcon, go Starlink.
Pitching downrange.
M1D chamber pressure is nominal.
Acquisition of signal, send equals time.
We are T plus 42 seconds into flight. Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Space Launch Complex 4E,
nominal.
carrying our 53 Starlink satellites into space. Moments ago, we began to throttle down those 9 engines on the first stage in preparation for a period known as max Q. This is where the vehicle will experience the highest amount of aerodynamic pressures.
Max Q.
And that was the confirmation of Max Q. Coming up in about a minute, we have a series of events happening back to back. First up is MECO, or main engine cutoff. This is where the 9 engines on the bottom of the first stage will shut off in preparation for stage separation. This is where the 2 stages will separate from one another, with the second stage continuing with SES-1, also known as
MVAC engine chill.
second engine start 1, where that MVAC engine on the second stage will ignite and continue to carry our Starlink satellites to orbit. And then shortly after SES-1, we'll have fairing deploy, where the 2 fairing halves on the top of the second stage will jettison themselves and make their way back to Earth. The first stage after stage separation will also be making its way back to Earth to land on our drone ship. Again, it's currently parked off the coast of Baja, Mexico, waiting for this booster's 5th landing attempt. For now, we are enjoying some gorgeous views of the West Coast as things continue to look good for today's mission.
Main engine cutoff.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC ignition.
Fairing separation.
And again, continuing with the gorgeous views, we saw a ground shot of main engine cutoff. Now on screen on the left-hand side is a view of the first stage booster. It is making its way back to our drone ship. The right-hand side of your screen is a view of our second stage Merlin vacuum engine. The fairing halves have deployed, and so we have our Starlink satellites exposed to the vacuum of space. They have a couple more minutes to go before we actually shut down that second stage engine and insert our second stage and the satellites into an orbit. The fairing halves, again, are going to be making their way back along with the first stage for recovery. The first stage needs to execute 2 burns in order to make its way back to our drone ship. Of course, I still love you. The first is an entry burn that's coming up around the T plus 6.5 minute mark. This is a 3-engine burn that slows down the first stage before we hit the denser parts of the Earth's atmosphere. And then around the T plus 8-minute mark, we'll have the landing burn. This will be the final burn before our landing attempt for the first stage. And this one is a single engine burn. T plus 4.5 minutes into flight. Engine performance on the second stage is nominal. If you look closely on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see some puffs of gas. That is nitrogen from our attitude control systems. That nitrogen will help to orient our first stage properly in order for it to land. And you also notice that we have 2 of our 4 grid fins on camera right now. Those will swivel and...
Both vehicles are following nominal trajectories.
Those will swivel and help to guide and steer that first stage back to our targeted landing site. If you are just joining us, we successfully lifted off from Space Launch Complex 4E, located at our West Coast Vandenberg Space Force Base launch site. After liftoff, we had successful main engine cutoff, successful stage separation. Our second stage engine has been ignited. And now the next milestone for this mission is the entry burn coming up in about 30 seconds.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
You can see on screen 3 of the 9 first stage engines have relit. This burn is expected to last for about 20 seconds before we shut it off again. You can see the speed of the first stage at the bottom left-hand side of the screen. We're starting to decrease that. So in about a minute, we'll have the landing burn. This is also expected to last for about 20 seconds. During the landing burn, this is where we'll be deploying our landing legs, and we'll make our 5th attempt at landing this first stage booster. Shortly after the landing burn ends, we'll be listening for a call out of SECO. This stands for second engine cutoff. We'll shut off the engine that you see on screen, and then we'll listen for another call out of good orbital insertion. As a reminder, after we get successful orbit confirmation, we will be ending the webcast, but we'll have audio up if you want to follow along, and we'll confirm deployment of our satellites via social media.
Stage 1 transonic.
About 20 seconds away from the beginning of that landing burn. Second stage performance and trajectory continue to be nominal.
Expected loss of signal, Vandenberg LLC.
Stage 2 terminal guidance. Stage 1 landing burn.
So the call-outs, we heard that we have begun the landing burn. Hopefully we can get footage
Stage 2 FTS is safe.
of the first stage landing on our drone ship.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
And there's a view of our drone ship positioned off the coast of Baja, Mexico, expecting that first stage booster to land here shortly.
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
So we have audio and video confirmation now of the first stage. That is the 5th successful landing for this particular booster, and the 112th successful recovery of a Falcon 9 first stage booster. We also heard confirmation of a successful second engine cutoff.
Expected loss of signal, SNI.
Nominal orbit insertion.
And that was the final call out that we're waiting for, a successful orbital insertion. With the confirmation of both successful second engine cutoff and a good orbit, we'll be ending our webcast for today's launch. For those of you that are interested, we'll be confirming payload deploy via our social channels, so keep an eye out for that. Alternatively, if you'd like to follow along through payload deploy, we'll leave the mission audio live on our YouTube channel. Thanks again to all of our viewers for joining today. If you are looking for more launch content, don't worry. We're currently targeting another Starlink launch tomorrow, May 14th at 4:40 p.m. Eastern Time. So be sure to tune in, and we will see you next time.
And there we go, another Starlink successfully up in orbit on its way there. If it's your first time here, hit that subscribe button. My name's Zach, I'm the host here at the Launchpad. Here at the Launchpad, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together. Just a heads up, it is launch day, which means you can head over to our shop, get 10% off of everything using promo code LAUNCHDAY. We're going to stay live with this map up so you can track through deployment. We've got about 50 minutes until then, so you can stay with us through that. We'll put up some space tunes as we await that. If you want to have a little bit more interaction and kind of a post show, join us over on our Discord. We're going to be in live comms talking about today's launch and just everything space. You can join us there. And if you'd like to help support what we do and bring you the best possible coverage of everything space, consider hitting that subscribe button, or if you want to financially support us, that join button. But that's going to do it for our live commentary portion of today's launch of Starlink 4-13 from Vandenberg Space Force Station. We're not going anywhere. We'll keep this map up through deployment, so stay with us right here on the launch pad. So a little bit of excitement here. They're changing a few things on the screen. We'll take a look and see what we can see. But if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad and our continued tracker of SpaceX Starlink 4-13, making its way to its deployment location. We've still got a little bit of time till then, so stay with us right here on the launch pad. And to those that are still hanging out with us here, welcome to the launch pad and our continued coverage of SpaceX Starlink 4-13. We have just had confirmation of second stage ignition and shutdown, completing that very quick 2-second burn of that second stage, carrying those 53 Starlink satellites into their targeted deployment orbit. We are expecting deployment to occur in about 9 minutes from now, so stay with us right here on the launch pad. And we have payload deployment confirmed. 53 more Starlink satellites are now in orbit after SpaceX Starlink 4-13 has successfully completed its mission. So that's going to conclude today's live coverage. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button so you never miss another launch, live press event, exclusive interview, or more. Join us over on our Discord and live comms for kind of a post show, and we will see you next time. But for now, this is Zach from TLP Network Studios signing off. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.